Okay, so here we go. Let's work some of these interest problems. This says find the interest if we have $1,000 at 5% interest for 1 year. Well, remember our formula said that interest equals principal times rate times time. So in order to find this, we'd say, well, our interest will equal the principal, which is $1,000, times the interest rate. Remember, that has to be in decimal form. So if we're working with 5% interest, that would be 0.05. And then times the time in years. So we're dealing with 1 year. Now for this, we can just work this out on our calculator. Just multiply 1,000 times 0.05 times 1, and we should get $50. That's really all there is to simple interest problems. Now here we have one that says $820 at 6% for 3.5 years. So again, our interest formula is interest equals the principal, which is 820, times the rate, which being 6%, we need to change that over to the decimal, 0.06, times the time in years. Well, they've told us that our time is 3.5 years. Because we're going to be using our calculator to figure this out, we probably don't want to write this as 3.5 because that's going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. But if we have good understanding of fractions and decimals, we could rewrite that as 3.5 because that would be the exact same thing. And now you can just multiply that on your calculator. 820 times 0.06 times 3.5, and we should get $172.20. That would be the interest after 3.5 years. Okay, here we have another one that says we're going to borrow $1,800 at 3% for 4 months. And we want to find the interest again. So our interest will equal the principal, which is $1,800, times the interest rate, which is 3%, so that would be 0.03, times the time in years. Now, since they gave it to us in months, we have to convert it over to match something in years. So we need to write this as 4/12 of a year because we're talking about 4 months out of 12. Now we can use our calculator to do this. Now I'm going to switch over to my calculator screen and show you this. So if you have a TI calculator, you can do this all in one step. We can do it as 1,800 times 0.03, close the parentheses, times, and open up another parenthesis, 4 divided by 12. Close the parenthesis. Now your calculator will handle that, and it'll tell you that the interest there is $18. Now, if for some reason you don't have, one of these fancier calculators that you can do fractions on, you can always go backwards. Because if you think about it, multiplication is both commutative and associative. So you should be able to multiply in any order you want to. So what you could always do is do 4 divided by 12 and find out what that number is, and then multiply by 0.03, and then multiply by 1,800. So even if you had to do it step by step, you will get the exact same answer no matter what. So we know now that our interest on this would be $18.